Alright, this is my first video. I've joined a website called 52 Frames, which has you take a photo and submit it once a week. Each week there's a different theme, so I'm going to try this out. I'm not coming in exactly at the beginning. I just now starting on what is going to be week 6. So it'll be my first week, but it'll be the 6th week of this year. And of course, my first challenge is levitation. Levitation photos. So I'm never done anything like this. I'm not big into the touching up and doing all the photo editing. When you check out the challenge, there's kind of two options. There's some people that either throw something in the air, or jump in the air, and try to take a picture of it, or then what the more common version is you Photoshop various objects. So I kind of came up with two basic ideas when this first came out. So we're gonna see. And the first one, my first idea, first concept, is kind of why I have all this before me. Do a lot of rock climbing, and immediately jumped into mind, going out to a rock face where they have a line, on the rock wall, and then putting up a route out into space. So I do a lot of climbing out at Carter Rock in Maryland, where it's right on the Potomac River. There's a couple places where the rocks go all the way to the river. So what I was thinking I could do is potentially set up some actual rock climbs on the real rock face like we'd normally do. Take photographs of somebody climbing on it, etc. And then kind of move that out over the water so it looked like they were climbing midair above the water, and making some super crazy difficult way to do this. Couple technical drawbacks to that I haven't quite figured out, then it'd probably make it not happen. First is, out at Carter Rock you typically do a top rope where you have the rope up at the top, and it kind of creates a pulley, and as you climb up the person takes up the slack. So in this type of a photograph you're just going to see a rope with dangling in midair, and then a guy beneath it and another guy holding the other end. It's not going to be clear that they're climbing up some type of a face. So if you do more of a sport climb or trad climb, where you're putting some type of protection, either rock nuts or something in as you go up, these various ones go in, you stick them into cracks and such, grab a carabiner, clip it on the end, and you put your rope through it. And so this kind of would allow the rope to follow the contour of the rock. It'd be a little more clear to somebody that this guy floating out in the middle of the ocean or the middle of the river is actually climbing a rock face or something like that. Still, I'm debating if that would really carry over, and if it'd be obvious what was going on, or if someone would just see a bunch of rock nuts with some carabiners and a weird rope out in the middle of the ocean or middle of the river, and not know why or be able to put that together. So taking that idea, scaling it down a little bit, thinking, okay, well, what if we don't do it on a rock face? What if we have like the magician's trick where people, they throws the rope up in the air and he climbs up the rope. So that's a possibility. I have a couple items that do that type of thing. Basic ascenders for climbing up rope. What they do is you have your rope hanging up here. This opens up, clips on. There's little teeth in there. Allows you to slide up the rope, but when you pull down, nothing happens. So you can have this thing go up the rope, up the rope, up the rope. So in theory, I could take the rope, tied up into a tree or something, climb up the rope, take the picture of me, on this rope, and then eventually Photoshop out the tree limb or something. Don't know if that's going to work or not. We'll see. The more I think about that, the harder it's going to be, both because of the time of year. It's winter, so it's cold outside. Nobody's really rock climbing. We've had a ton of rain, ton of snow, so everything outside is going to be super muddy. It makes kind of staging this and getting it all set up a little harder. The the rock face and trying to do that, I just don't think that's going to work today. If this summer when I'm rock climbing, I may try to do that just for fun. But as far as getting this done in a week, and it's already Wednesday, it's due noon on Sunday, I think we're going to be keeping it simple and just either doing a climbing the magician's rope or some other idea. All right, so that finishes that. That was concept 1, and then come back concept 2. So concept number 2 for our levitation video involves this guy, my star actor, and his propensity for chasing squirrels up these various trees. Fair number of trees here in the backyard, and way more squirrels than trees. And Mr. Finn here is a big proponent of keeping the squirrels out of the backyard. So my thought is, and this kind of plays into the extra credit portion of the challenge, is the extra credit is a dream or fantasy. So I was thinking, what if Mr. Finn here I took a picture of him sleeping on the ground, and then with like bubbles or something up. I'm thinking maybe a 3-pane cartoon. It may simplify just down to 1, but you know, I have one picture of him chasing the squirrel up the tree, and then he kind of gets an idea and he makes himself a balloon vest. And then that's picture number 2, and then picture number 3 is him up into one of the trees, taking the fight to them. So he's actually going to keep on chasing those squirrels even when they go up the tree. Biggest problem right now is we just got over having a lot of snow. We're having tons of rain right now, and being winter, it gets dark really early and is not light very early in the morning. So I am having significant problems arranging some scheduling with these squirrels. Mr. Finn's up to the challenge of trying to chase them, and he's a pretty good actor, but right now they are pretty much just hunkering down and hibernating, and or they're doing their thing in the daytime when I'm not here to take pictures of them. Which means I've got to try to figure out a way to take a picture of a squirrel on Saturday morning, do all the photoshopping, etc., and somehow have a picture by Sunday, including all the pictures of Finn. So I think from a sheer logistics standpoint, that's not going to happen. Might be a good picture for some other time, but as far as today goes, or at least this week's challenge, is not going to go. May simplify it. We may have Finn kind of do the same theory, but maybe he's trying to get treats off a counter or try to get an object off of something high, and so we'll have him devise a plan to use a balloon vest or something to float up onto a counter or something, you know, in order to get a treat or to get something. So that's plan B of concept 2, and right now that's probably our leading candidate for what's going to become the levitation photo for the weekly challenge. All right, well, Wednesday night, still haven't taken any photos. Still struggling with executing some ideas. This being the first week, started me off with a doozy. Well, I'm finally home in time to actually try to get... Oh, there's some squirrels. Okay. So, there's that. Looking right into the sun, there's a black hole notch in the tree there, and the squirrels use that as a den. And they've been running in and out of it all day, and I'm finally home in time to catch them. The problem is the sun is right there, so I'm shooting looking right into the sun unless I stand strategically in a shadow, and that's pretty much just silhouetting the squirrels. I don't know, I don't think this is going to turn out photography wise. There's one up in that tree. I'll try to get some shots of him. Not sure how well that's going to work out either. He's better lit, but I don't know. He's not like is just on a branch or something. It's not as easy to figure out what you're looking at. There's a lot of small stuff around him that kind of obscures what you're looking at. So overall, I'm not sure how the Finn versus the squirrels video is going to turn out. I've pretty much resigned myself to just going down to Gravelly Point and getting the planes taking off and landing at Reagan. it's kind of neat. They do kind of levitate. They come in. They seem so slow. It seems like they're just hanging in air. I've been wanting to get those shots anyhow, so I think that's going to be the ultimate solution for the levitation photo. I've also decided that we got a black squirrel here. So he's sitting there on the fence. See if I can shoot him. Of course, as soon as I get the camera up, he runs away. So my squirrels are being reluctant models. I've also just realized, or not really realized, but I've also come to the conclusion that while I have done masking and some of that Photoshop stuff before, it's not something I enjoy doing, and I don't really want to spend a ton of time, editing a photo. So that's reason number 2 that I'm probably gonna go with the airplanes taking off and landing. It's just a shot. You don't have to. There's no Photoshop involved. There's no layering and masking and blurring and all that fun stuff, which I have done before, and I've done it enough to know that it's not something I really enjoy doing. It's not. I don't dislike it. It's just not something that I get all excited about. Some people really enjoy blending and masking and color correcting, and not me. I like to pull the trigger, shoot the picture, and then be done. So it's probably just a function of where I am in my photography phase, but I'm going to try to get some more squirrel shots, and if I can't get them, then I will switch to, I don't know if it's plan C, D, E, who knows what letter I'm on at this point. I've gone through a number of ideas, so we'll call it a day. I'm at Gravelly Point. Went to take a picture of the first plane coming in, and no SD card flashed on my camera. So yes, I in fact drove all the way down here and forgot to put the SD card in my camera after unloading the squirrel shoot that I did yesterday. So bravo me for being such a genius. It's like a 10-minute drive, so it's not that bad. But back to the house, pick up the SD card. I'll probably just throw a spare just in my camera bag, because this isn't the first time I've left town without it, so at least I wouldn't make it a complete loss. So yay, go team. So I'm at Dangerfield Island, out in the marina on the floating dock. So I took some shots from those movie tables over there. It was a bit of an angle, so this time I moved out onto the docks, so I can do that without getting the sun. Packing it up on Dangerfield Island, which is not actually an island. Got a few shots. Never been here before, so it was a learning curve. Did get to see a pretty straight-on landing, but the skyline's in the background, so it really kind of obscures the airplane against the background buildings. One thing I hadn't considered is you get the Jefferson and the Washington Monument in there, so at least give you some context for the shot. You can tell that the plane's landing in DC. This was kind of my experimental shots. I think they turned out okay. I don't think any of them are really usable, but interesting. Definitely out on the docks is it's a good location, but they move so much that it's gonna. We'll see if I think the photos will turn out. The video, not so much. It's all I could do to keep the camera, or the plane in frame with the camera. All right, so gonna move on to Gravelly Point. See if we can actually take some shots with an SD card in the camera. All right, Gravelly Point. Watching the airplanes land and take off. Got the runway right behind me, and the planes come right overhead. So we'll catch one of those later. Trying a slightly different location. This is a little bit towards the runway of where we were standing before. everywhere. So probably still a popular place. I imagine a lot of people shoot here, but this little runway is this little track is well worn. So I'm not the first person to have this idea. Should be able to catch the planes just as they touch down. Got the runway right there. Oh, sounds like one's coming in. First plane, so I wasn't sure exactly where they came in. Now I know. Nothing like precariously setting the camera up on a rock. Yeah. Trying to get that extra mile. Well, I think I just got my shot. Alaskan Air coming in right above the Washington Monument there, above the Jefferson, came across. It just kind of worked out that this gave you a good angle of the planes coming in right over the monuments. You got them both in the frame. We'll see how it turned out. I'm getting right into golden hour 2, which is what I wanted. So you got the golden sunlight on the monuments. Early on in the day, the sun was too bright. They were all washed out, but now it's definitely a little muted, a lot more colorful, a lot more oranges and reds in. Planes are still up in the sky, even though the sun is, yes, the planes are in the sky. The planes are still lit by the sun. Even though the sun is setting. Mental note, do this again at sunset. Much prettier sky than what I was shooting earlier in the day, which is pretty white and washed out. One picture I didn't get so far was the fisheye. Pretty much know I needed to get it, but because of the crowd, I hadn't gotten it earlier. Got some coming in. I'm gonna try to do the fisheye. That wraps up Gravelly Point. I think I was successful. We'll see when we get home. So which Levitation photo made the cut for this week's submission? The one that I took from the railing on the pedestrian bridge that I thought was just going to be the picture. The golden hour had Washington Monument on top of Jefferson in it with the Alaskan Air flight. It was okay. It didn't turn out as good as I was expecting. Yeah, in camera I thought that was going to be the one. The Washington Monument does have a nice pink orange glow to it. A lot of the city has that color, but the airplane just didn't. Part of it's the position, and part of it's just the trees kind of obscure the ground. It's not as good of as a photo as I thought it was going to be. That same flight, I was able to get the Alaska Air as it was about to touch down, and cropping in a little bit actually made that photo better. You get the same golden hour light. You're zoomed in on the plane. You're a lot closer. You see the river beneath it, but it's okay. I like it, but it's not super great. I'm not sure where I actually shot the Virgin Atlantic flight, but I like this one because it had the Capitol in it. Just all the construction cranes and all that kind of stuff. It's too busy on the bottom. This is one I actually did some photoing, just quick editing on. There were some birds that were making kind of random black dots all around the plane that I took out. The next three were all right there at Gravelly Point as the planes are coming in. I like them in they almost look photoshopped to me. You have a park, you have the monuments in the background, you got the river, you got the people playing, and then you have this ginormous jet hanging there in the air. So if you didn't necessarily know where this was, the plane would really look out of place. Especially the third one there with the people and the dogs, and they just seem oblivious to this huge plane overhead. Kind of my bottom two were the people walking with the plane landing, kind of casually looking at it. Kind of like this simply because of the story it told. Although I don't think it's that great of a photograph. Shot this early in the day, so the sky is all white. You have a white plane. For me, it was neat. These kind of people walking along and plane casually landing beside them. I think the one I'm going to go with was shot when I was down right at the water's edge, right at the beginning of the runway. Golden hour shot, plane coming in. Water turned out pretty well. You got a lot of golds along the ground. You got the blue water. You got the War College in the background. Plane has some color to it. Sky is not as dynamic as I would like. I would like a bluer sky, but overall I think that's not too bad. The only editing I did to this picture was to straighten it. It was a little crooked. The camera was precariously perched on a rock there, so it was, and I had it strapped to me so I wouldn't drop it in the water. So every time I moved, it was getting yanked around. So I didn't get I wasn't a real solid shot, but I think this one turned out. I think this is the one I'm going to go with. It definitely looks like the plane is just kind of hanging there, which is what I was going for. You don't really capture the motion. So my first week, we'll see what happens, and on to my second week. I think this is be week 7. Yeah, must be week 7 for 52 frames. All right, it's been fun, and see you next week.